How can I forget those days? Due to the corona epidemic, an emergency lockdown was imposed across the country. An atmosphere of anxiety was created everywhere. Firstly, it was an unknown disease. On the other hand, there were no medicines for that disease. Thus, fear spread everywhere. Everyone was shooting arrows in the darkness. Apart from medicines, some were talking about some milk as medicine for that disease, while others were advising about yoga pranayam. They used to experiment with whatever they thought of. Trains and buses were not running. Coaching centers and hostels were being vacated. In such a situation, people coming from faraway places faced a lot of trouble. Same thing happened with Niharika also. She had gone to spend her weekend with Mayur and got into this mess. This was not the first time that both of them had gone out to roam like this. They kept planning short trips to this place every now and then. So, both of them were working in Bangalore, far away from their homes. Hence, they had no obstacles. Both of them were living in the present without thinking twice about whether they would get married in the future or not. Along with the announcement of public curfew, there were also hints about imposition of lockdown in the coming days. Niharika and Mayur also thought that they should live freely considering that they will have to stay away from each other for so many days. Here, Niharika lived in a working women's hostel. Mayur stayed in a PG. Both of them decided to stay at Mayur's friend Siddharth's house. Exactly at that time, Siddharth went to Goa with his friends. Hence, his house was vacant. Taking advantage of that opportunity, both of them took leave for 2 days and left for Mangalore. Both of them were enjoying the weekend. Meanwhile, a nationwide lockdown was announced. As soon as Mayur heard the news, Niharika saw a twinkle in his eyes, who was singing song and looking at her. You are laughing, but do you know what kind of trouble we have got into? Niharika tried to make Mayur serious. Are we going to face any trouble here? How did we get stuck here? Similarly, Siddharth is stuck in Panaji. There are also kitchen utensils and enough groceries stored in this house. Anyhow, you cook. I enjoy its taste, said Mayur, trying to put her at ease. But Niharika was worrying about something else. Do you know the meaning of we both living here and that too without any safety measures? Niharika said to Mayur. Hearing those words, Mayur laughed even louder and said, what will happen? A small bud will bloom, right? Niharika stomped and left in anger. It was a 21-day lockdown. Both followed safety measures as far as possible. Sometimes they both even maintained their composure. But when they gathered courage, both of them united in the safe days of the month. But they did not get any happy experience from it. Everyone spent time worrying. There was no hope that when the lockdown would be lifted. But Niharika was worrying when she would get her periods. One day she got periods. Niharika was happy. It was the first time in her life that Niharika got happy when she got periods. Before this, Niharika used to feel very uncomfortable whenever she used to get her periods. The first 21 days of lockdown were spent, but that lockdown was extended for some more days. But this time, relaxation was given from the restrictions. Mayur and Niharika came to Bangalore from Mangalore. Niharika is a girl of modern ideology. It is true. But the condition of unmarried mothers in the society was unknown to her. She was happy that she did not face any problems during the lockdown. It is said that if one goes beyond the boundaries, then there is a risk of daring to do so again. Life was returning to a normal state amid the restrictions of lockdown. The transportation system was starting. Meanwhile, tourism was also regaining its activity. After that, Niharika and Mayur started appearing together again on weekends. But these doubtful times had made Niharika necessarily cautious about their relationship. Both Niharika and Mayur decided to get married, and hence love marriages are no longer prohibited. But old people are also against the coming together of people of two different castes. After the initial disruption, both families mutually agreed to the relationship. After realizing that everything was normal in the month of October, both the families engaged Niharika and Mayur. In our society, engagement is considered as final stage of marriage. In such a situation, society and culture do not raise any objection to the meeting of a boy and a girl. Both of them used to meet quite often. They were also a little careless. The marriage had to take place in the month of April. Before that, an unexpected problem had become evident. This time, Niharika didn't get periods. When Niharika told this to Mayur, he was as irresponsible as ever. He told, Niharika, why are you so tensed? Anyhow, our marriage will be taking place. You can take the necessary measures for the marriage and can get pregnant again after marriage. No, no. The first child will be a contribution to creation. If the first pregnancy is aborted, it becomes difficult to conceive again. I will not give away this child, she said, clearly denying abortion. The month of March had started. Niharika's stomach started looking a little raised. She tried to hide it in loose clothes. This child in the womb will be treated as unauthorized until I get married to Mayur. This child becomes ours officially and legally when our marriage takes place. Niharika thought. Is it possible to happen as Niharika thinks? March was coming to an end. Meanwhile, the entire country went into lockdown again. Some cities were completely and some partially locked down. Niharika's condition due to panic was unknown. To control corona, the government banned all types of programs and wedding ceremonies. Marriages were allowed to take place among less than 50 people. When Mayur's family asked to postpone the wedding date, Niharika's family agreed. They wanted marriage to be done with impunity, and all relatives and friends should participate in it as per their wish. When Niharika heard this, she fell down to the ground. Whatever the next date, a decision will be taken only after 3 to 4 months. Till then, how will she be able to save her stomach? First, Niharika put pressure on Mayur to get married on the previously fixed date. When he told this to his family, they did not listen. At last, she gathered courage and spoke to her mother on the phone. Hearing the news that she was going to give birth to a baby before marriage, Niharika's mother lost consciousness. How come you have made such a mistake? But now nothing could be done. Even if in front of very few people, women should get married. Otherwise, her reputation would be ruined. Niharika's mother took father into confidence and gave this advice. After thinking about it, he explained the situation to Mayur's father. They agreed to get married on the prearranged day because of their progressive ideology. Everyone is free from worry, but every story has a happy ending. Niharika had to face more tests. Only a few days were left for the wedding, but the outbreak of corona had not subsided yet. The number of cases kept increasing day by day. The death toll was increasing day by day. Therefore, curfew was imposed at some places and lockdown at other places. The situation became so dire that it became impossible to even buy wedding gowns and groom's dresses because the shops were closed for an unspecified period. The second wave of corona was showing its fierce wrath. The deaths occurred in the streets. Due to this, the situation became worse due to lack of oxygen and availability of medicines and beds in the hospitals. There was no guarantee that if any one person went to the hospital with corona, he would come back. I don't know what happened in hospitals. The hospitals were like death houses. Niharika and Mayur were busy preparing for the wedding with utmost care. The situation was getting worse every day. In such a situation, it was not possible to keep everything going smoothly. However, everyone wanted this marriage to take place because then Niharika was in a position to deliver a baby. Only 1 week was left for the wedding. There were no guests coming from outside. Only a few people from both the houses and 30-40 people, including the priests, were present at the wedding. Niharika and Mayur rented a car and went to their respective places. It is as if our inner senses are getting hints of some unpleasant event that is going to happen in the future. It depends on how we interpret that advice. After 2 days, Niharika's heart started pounding about some strange incident. That evening, Mayur told Niharika on the phone that he was feeling tired. Then she consoled him and told, "This journey is boring, but it is not worth it." But his inner mind was not ready to accept what she had said. 3 days before the wedding, Mayur had severe fever. When tested, he was found to be corona positive. Niharika lost consciousness after hearing the news. 90% people get cured without even going to the hospital. Many people used to reassure him that there was no need to panic in this matter. But Mayur was anxious. His condition became fatal due to the virus, same as before. The next day, his oxygen level dropped and he had to be immediately admitted to the hospital. On the very day the wedding was to take place, the news came that Mayur was dead. Niharika had lost her power to think. She considered the baby that she was giving life to was her sign of her love. It was her intention to maintain it at any cost. The same part of it was now beginning to suffer from some kind of unknown things. The situation in both the houses was different. A family had lost their nursing son. In another family, the respect and prestige was ruined. They kept looking at his eyes, thinking about their future. Niharika's parents and Niharika went there to meet Mayur's family and talk to them and console them. "I can't console you at all. We both ride in the same boat," said Niharika. Mayur's mother's eyes were filled with tears. "What should I do? Even if we had another son, there would have been no question of leaving Niharika." Saying this, Mayur's mother hugged Niharika, crying, "Our life has gone dead even though we are living. Now, if we remove the child in the 6th month, we will have to lose our daughter." Saying this, Niharika's mother started crying again. Then Mayur's uncle's daughter said, "We will adopt the child born to Niharika and Mayur." No matter how hard I tried, it was not possible to get conceived. "After the lockdown ends, we are thinking of adopting a child," said Lata. As Lata's mother and her husband Girish also agreed, Niharika's mother felt a little relieved. Everyone started discussing about this changed topic. Finally, it was decided that Niharika should take leave for few months and go to Hyderabad with Lata and Girish. There she should give birth to a child and after a month the child should be given to them legally. It was decided to pursue semi-open adoption process. According to this, Niharika could not meet her child once after handing over the child to the Lata and Girish. As previously decided, Niharika went with them to Hyderabad. She told herself that she would not develop any kind of intimacy with the child growing in her womb. She would think of her bulging belly as a lump growing in her body. There will be an operation after a few months. After that, she would know that it will come back to normal state and she would count on that. Lata and Girish were paying perfect attention to Niharika. They always wanted her to be happy. But how can one be happy? She was aware that she had authority over this child only until it was born. She got over the childish obsession. The time of delivery was approaching. Arrangements were made for the delivery in a good maternity home. Doctors also kept an eye on the changes taking place in her body. Despite all these arrangements, Niharika always spent time looking at the void in the nearby window of the balcony. One day in the morning, Niharika was woken up by the sound of crying of a cat. When Niharika looked outside, a cat in the balcony had picked up her three kittens. The mother cat licked her kittens one after the other with her tongue. Once it tried to take them in her arms, and the other time she would feed them. This time, when she tried to carry them using her mouth, Niharika's heart felt like stopping it. Hey cat, carry the kittens with some caution, otherwise they may get injured, she said to herself. Niharika started noticing the changes in her mind after seeing the cat with her kittens. How much did that kitten's mew sound influence me? Niharika got lost in those sounds. Suddenly she felt milk flowing from her breasts. After that, when she covered her stomach with her hand, tears started flowing from her eyes. Even though her eyes moved away from the window, only her ears did not move away from there. Their mew sound made a strange vibration in her. Then she kept the glass of milk which had been given to her in the balcony for the cat to drink. That night Niharika started getting pain. Lata and Girish also had similar expectations. They immediately admitted her to the hospital. Within 2 hours, she gave birth to a little girl. Niharika was still semi conscious as a result of the medication, but her hands were searching for her next one. Lata understood her pain. She immediately touched Niharika's hand to the newborn baby. Niharika got happy. In the evening, as Niharika regained consciousness, the nurse asked her to feed baby with her breast milk. After so much effort, the child started drinking milk. Niharika then plunged into supernatural happiness. It was such an experience that it cannot be described in words. Niharika's hand started caressing the child's head. The sound emanating from the baby's mouth while sucking milk made the room feel as if someone was playing the flute. Lata also got immersed in this thought of happiness in her mind. After 4 days, Niharika came home from the hospital. As soon as she came home, she went to the cats and poured milk into the pan. By then, Niharika's mother had also come there to take care of her. The whole family was around that one child. Swiftly 1 month passed. The time had come to move away from the child for Niharika. Girish was speeding up the process of adopting the baby. One evening he was very happy when he returned from office. I have completed all the necessary formalities. A survey of our house will be conducted in the next 2 days. Within a few days after receiving the satisfactory report, this little child will be treated as ours per law. Girish took the child in his arms and hugged her. No one paid any attention to Niharika's feelings. She suddenly stood up and took the child from Girish's hand, saying, I will not give this child to anyone. That's what she said. Everyone were astonished after hearing her words. Why are you talking like this? You were brought here under the same agreement, said mother, taking Niharika to task. Auntie is right. It was only after you agreed. Lata reminded her. Yes, but I have decided to have this baby myself, Niharika said, holding her baby at her breast. Who are you holding on to? Don't you know that this decision of yours is against the rules of society? Mother warned Niharika. But Niharika was not prepared to listen to anyone. She refused to change her decision. Leaving everyone in an awkward situation, she went to her room and started packing her and the child's belongings. Meanwhile, she heard the same sweet meow sound coming from the balcony. Niharika looked towards the other side, and three kittens were looking at the rice that Niharika had put in her bowl. The mother cat was lovingly nuzzling her three kittens as per her wish. Niharika also kissed her child's forehead. Niharika was well aware that everyone would strongly oppose her decision, but her decision to turn her boat against the tide was unshakable.